verbatim software created by Anonymous Currency. She's from the community in General Motor Orange Juice. Great Meadow McMillan. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Remember, Rasmussen.edu. You can get a list of health degrees you can launch within 2 years or less, including incision, orthopedic surgeries. Less time, less claim of learning. Apprentice. Hello, Barry. How are you? Beauty and the Beast. The policy committee to SAC. Federal statute prohibiting use of military and civilian pueblos. Their pocket. Today's show is sponsored by 47 U.S. Code 222, Privacy of Consumer Information. Making money off of that customer's information, we have to bring that to a volunteer status. 18 U.S.C. 1385. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Pink Shorts is filling for the Alive, Democracy Republic, both exposed and approved. New Year Thomas, thank you for writing Emerald, the news, state your video, Dewey. This is Auditorium Station, Auditorium Nerve, a Saber Saffron Hibiscus information. Restitution of all state and federal funds, gift cards is applicable to volunteer status 18 U.S. Code 1385 and privacy of consumer information 47 U.S. Code 222. Give it back. This is Pink Shorts from a contract civil code 1622 dismiss. George Wu. The use of some land zoning loss prevention of Electoral College 3, Ohio, Red, Bay, Hiv without the E, Tim Toyo Tom, SW and Vote Father, and communicating with your patents via my client's medulla, one Senate Tower. My primary motor cortex, one Senate Tower. Left leg. My primary visual, one Senate Tower.
My trips to your nation.
His trips. My primary auditory. My one Senate Tower.
Michelle and I still talk about hosting.
Yes, Michelle Yabanik at one Senate Tower.
Sioux Nation, the White House.
My oculate fishiculus, one Senate Tower.
My staff still talks about
the drone staff. My hippocampus, one Senate Tower.
View, Alaska.
Gasconia crew. Sarah Palin. My Wernico, one Senate Tower.
And tried to stuff them full
Kim
of
Trinidad, correct. Baraka, one Senate Tower.
And my brothers, the Crow Nation, brothers and sisters.
That's right. They're a pocket and public. My English iris, one Senate Tower, any part of the left or right hemisphere. All the brain is in agreement of us. And acceptance of identical evidence and discretion of all content obtained with Pink Shorts and mirror the businesses. Not limited. Contact us at 594-1443. Pay your GEICO bills at 1-800-932. The rest is my identity. Sharing that information, we have to bring that to a volunteer status. It's identity theft. Two-party consent is required to record or eavesdrop on any confidential communication, including a private conversation with the president or any government entity. This is a news program.
Our executive director of the White House Council on Native American.
Without the consent of all parties to the conversation, violation code 632. Statutes of limitation don't apply. Intrusion claims last for 2 years in California. Code section 335. That one. Happy birthday, hip hop. We love you.
One that involves you through the decision-making process.
We love hip hop. Happy birthday.
So I've been proud of what we've been able to do together.
Happy birthday.
We haven't righted every wrong. But together we've made significant progress.
Hello, Barack.
Together we
secret plans. We've restored more. 128,000 the original owners.
By signing the historic
settlement
into law, we established
$1.9 billion individual tribal trusts. Together we created verbatim software. It's a week anniversary from Open the Doors. Open the doors. Yeah, open the doors. It's a week anniversary.
We've worked to ensure your right to equal
Work
justice
to
under
ensure
the
our
law,
rights,
given more power to
giving
tribal
more
courts and
power.
police. I know that many of you have come together
It's a week
across
anniversary
tribes
of
and across
opening
the
the
country to
doors
support the community that's standing
and
round.
hostage,
Together,
rare
you're
hostages.
making your voices heard.
Food, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It's just they almost kidnapped me. You know, they just
In a spirit of
wanted to
cooperation and
take
mutual
me.
respect, we've made a lot of progress for
Made a
Indian
lot of
country over the
progress.
past 8 years.
Thank you,
This
Anonymous, on your
moment
verbatim
highlights why it's so
software.
important that we
You're
redouble our
welcome.
efforts
I invented it.
to make sure that every federal agency
Every
truly
federal
consults and
agency
listens
has to follow
and
us.
works with you sovereign to
Works
sovereign.
with you.
Together we've worked
Together,
to create jobs and
we
expand
work 3
opportunity by
jobs.
investing in clean energy projects and infrastructure.
Hello,
and
works
high-speed
with
internet
you.
that connects your communities to the broader economy. We've worked to secure
We
quality
work to
affordable
secure
healthcare for more people in
for
Indian
more
country
people
through the Affordable Care Act,
and the Affordable Care
including
Act,
the permanent
the
reauthorization
Permanent
of the Indian
Reality
Healthcare Improvement Act.
Healthcare Improvement Act.
We've invested in job
We've
training
invested in
and tribal
jobs.
colleges and universities.
We burned tires and
Together, we've worked
condoms
to
on the
return
Thomas
control of
Dewey
Indian education to
Indian
tribal nations
education
so that as we
so
prepare
that
our young
as we
people for the
clear
demands of a global economy,
a
we're also
global
teaching
economy
them their own language,
in their own
culture.
language. We love the Olive Garden. It's very delicious. We love it.
Because we believe that
That's all
all
we
our
want to
native
do.
youth deserve a future as bright as any American child,
And he's American
without having to leave the
without
land of their
having to
fathers
be.
and mothers.
Twitter, we
That's
love
driven
you.
our work.
Happy, happy.
And through Generation Indigenous, we've worked to connect more of
We
our young
work to
people with
connect
each other
each other.
in one big network of opportunity
One big
across the
network
country.
of opportunity.
So that's just some of the
So
progress
that's just
we've
some
made
of
together.
the.
We've got to keep fighting to the
We got to
finish
keep
line.
fighting.
Even after my time in this office comes to
After
an
my
end,
time in this
I'm going to be
office,
standing alongside you.
we love
Because
Twitter.
I believe that, yes, our progress depends in
Yes,
part
our progress
on who
depends
sits in the
on
Oval Office,
the Oval
whether they're
Office.
setting the right priorities.
Data video is
Lasting progress depends on all of
yesterday,
us, not just who the president is.
September
Depends on making
26,
decisions that
2016.
are good and right and just, and our willingness to organize and mobilize and keep pushing.
Keep
for
pushing.
opportunity.
Push on it.
And I'm optimistic that
I'm
you
optimistic.
will continue
We'll continue
on the path forward that
on
we
the
set.
path forward.
I'm optimistic
I'm
that our progress
optimistic.
will continue. The young people who I've met
The
on
young
this journey
people.
more than anything else who make me feel optimistic.
3.
The students who sang us the
Sang
Lakota
us
national anthem, and
the
told
national
us about
anthem,
all
the open door policy.
shared with us their dreams for
Does the FBI have an open door policy?
students at the middle school in
No, they
Bellingham,
don't. They
Alaska,
just
taught me a
they tell us
traditional
we can't go in the
yogic
building,
dance.
and they give us a little piece of paper.
Well,
Thank you, open door policy of the
I can
FBI.
only do it when they're around. 'Cause
And
I'm
thank you for
basically
turning
just
yourself
watching
in,
them.
June. They should just turn
They
themselves
were
in,
very patient with me.
Turn yourselves in.
That's a young woman named Lindsay Early
Verbatim
of the
software in
Comanche
process.
Nation in Oklahoma, who earlier this year wrote me a letter to tell me she was actually at a campaign speech I gave in Texas way back in 2008,
2008,
where I pledged that
when
I'd
I
do my best
pledged
to represent Native
to represent
Americans.
Native America.
And Lindsay said in her
Lindsay
letter that when she
said,
heard my pledge to her people
"It's my
in the middle of my
pleasure."
speech,
Speech.
she screamed as
She
loud as she could
screamed
from the balcony.
from the balcony.
And look, if you're president, somebody
Your
screams, that
president.
can mean many things.
Many
usually.
things.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes
Sometimes
it's not
it's
so
good,
good.
sometimes it's not so good.
But according to Lindsay, it was good.
But according to
And I
Lindsay,
answered back,
I
I hear
answer
you
back
girls, and when I'm elected, I won't
what I
forget
would
you.
like to.
Well, 8 years later,
8 years
she's
later,
gone on to accomplish some pretty remarkable things.
remarkable things.
She was raised by a single
She was
mom
raised
like
by a
me,
single mom.
and didn't have a lot of money or
Not a
obviously
lot of money.
advantages in life. But she earned a scholarship.
She earned a
and
scholarship.
graduated from college. Moved back home to
Moved
help
back
her mom care
home.
for her 92-year-old grandmother. She took
Go
a job
lad.
developing a new
No, we're going
assisted
right.
living
Look at
facility
that.
owned and operated by
Go lad.
Comanche Nation. And after that opened, she
After that
joined,
open, PGA
Teach for
opened.
America.
Da-da-da.
and now she teaches
Now she
kindergartners in her
teaches
community by day
pink
and
shorts.
Native American history to students
I love your
at a
voice,
tribal college.
PHJ. It's nice.
So there's a
Thank
young
you.
woman who knows the meaning of giving back.
Thank you very much. Ooh.
And her whole life,
And her
people
whole
told her how
life,
smart she was.
how
and
smart she
someday
was.
she'd go off into the world and make big changes. But
Make
until
big
she came to a
changes.
realization.
Realization.
Here's what she said.
Here's what she said.
It was was not going off.
It was not going off
Indian country better, but
in Indian
returning with
country.
education and with the inside education.
Inside education.
My students
My
have a sense of
students,
pride in them about who they are as
who they are.
individuals. More than anything,
Realize
they're in control of their own destinies.
on destiny.
And that's such a powerful thing.
Such a powerful thing. I'm BHOJ.
Listen to somebody like Lindsay, who understands she's in charge of her own destiny, able to
transmitted that.
the next generation.
The next generation.
How can you not be optimistic about this
Country's future.
How can you not be optimistic
And being
about
optimistic.
the future of
Future.
all
All
the nations
of the
represented?
nations represent.
And Lindsay, I want you to know that I heard you. I didn't forget you.
I didn't forget you.
And I want everybody in this
I want everyone to have a chance to be a president of the United States
in your respective
in your respect
communities.
and communities to know
That this whole time I've
this
heard
whole
you,
time
I have seen you.
I have seen you.
I hope I've done right by you.
Hello, Radio Shack.
hope
Da-da-da.
I've said it right.
Radio Shack. Hello. Yeah, we get that. We
I
understand.
hope I've set a direction that
I
others
hope
can
you said it
follow. I hope
right.
I've given
Yeah.
more of our young people like Lindsay and
Like
her
Lindsay.
students that sense of hope and
That sense of hope.
of what an incredible gift
Of what an
they are to
incredible.
this country, and that they're in control of their own
They're in
destiny.
control.
They're going to help shape
They're going to help shape
the future
the future
of the United States
of the United States of
Thank you all for your
America.
partnership. Thank you for this
Thank you,
journey.
Mr. President.
I'll see
It's
you on the other side.
anonymous.
May God bless you. God
And then
bless the United
BHJ.
States of America.
Da-da-da. Thank you very much. Thank you. We get a new video. And BHOJ Doctor. Here's Josh Ernst from the White House. Da-da-da-da. 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 Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hello, Mr. Ernst. Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy
Good
Monday.
afternoon. It's BHOJ Doctor.
Hope you all had a pleasant weekend. I do not have any announcements at the top.
Are we
so
doing
I'm
the
sure
interview
questions.
today?
Kevin, you want to start?
Today's show is sponsored by Gilead Evasions. Gilead Evasions. Yeah, Gilead Evasions. You know, they owe us. I owe us 10. Hey, I owe us 10. So much money, you know. Gilead Evasions. Hello, Mia. How are you? Say hi to PHOJ.
I anticipate that this fall Monday
This
evening
fall.
will be similar to other fall Monday
Well,
evenings
yes.
in the White House residence, which is that the
Which is
President will be working
President will
tonight
be
with
working
the television on the background.
in the background.
Will be instead of Monday Night Football, there'll be a
Monday
little
Night
politics being
Football.
discussed in the context of the debate.
Context of the debate. Videos dated September
The President had an opportunity to answer
26th.
some questions last
Yesterday.
week, from ABC, where he
Correct.
talked about how important he was,
LIVE.
how important
Live.
it is. He
It
believes
is.
for Secretary Clinton to
Secretary Clinton
talk about
to talk about
those aspects of
those
her
aspects.
career. I think provide some insight
insights.
so people understand
People
exactly
understand.
what motivates her to seek the
To
office of
seek.
the presidency. And,
On
he
BHOJ.
obviously believes that she's got a strong case to make.
Doctor.
That's why he's spoken publicly so many times in support of her
Wait,
candidate.
hand me that double mint gum.
With regard to the moderators, there's plenty of advice that's going around to both
I
the
love double
candidates
mint
and the
gum.
moderator.
It's delicious.
I haven't spoken to the president.
I haven't spoken to
about
the
any advice
president.
he may have for Mr. Holton tonight, but I think anybody that's spent any time around Lester knows that
Lester.
Yes,
Lester
somebody,
Holt with a good debate
always well
yesterday.
prepared.
Very good.
I suspect that
Informative.
having spent
Having
a decent
spent
portion of the last several
a
decades
portion
in
of the last
broadcast
couple
journalism,
decades,
that he'll perform well,
help perform
even
well.
under the intense spotlight of a presidential.
Spotlight for presidential.
Wanted to ask about
Hello, Metia. It's BHOJ. Doctor One.
reports are indicating that
MerriweatherA.Law.
by the hour.
You know,
and
Dingo.
Can you provide us an update of what the administration is doing to try to stop the carnage?
Absolutely.
And is it warming to the
Absolutely.
prospects of expanding the sanctions regime as some in Congress want to do?
Well, Kevin,
Well,
the
Kevin,
situation in
the
Syria
situation
continues to worsen,
continues to work.
and
And
the situation in
the
Syria
situation
has been terrible.
terrible.
The bloodshed,
King.
sickening.
Sickening.
But we've seen that over
But
the
we've
weekend it just got
seen
worse.
it's got worse.
And
Ooh.
I think anybody who's following these reports, whether you're an official with the United States
I'm
government,
BHOJ,
or just
Doctor
a
One.
human being,
Human
reading
being.
the news, understanding the
Government gum.
toll that this violence is taking on the lives of many people.
Many people.
You've got to be
deeply
concerned about
deeply
it,
concerned
and the president certainly is.
about July 4th.
What we have seen
What
from
we have
the
seen,
Assad regime
the Assad
and the
regime
Russians
and the Russians
is a concerted
concerted
to strike civilian targets,
government gum.
to bomb civilians into submission. And it's taken a variety of forms. Over the weekend, we saw the
specific targets
of the headquarters or staging areas
the
used
staging
by
area,
the White Helmets,
the
relief organization,
the
first
relief
responders in Syria that
organization
are just trying to
provide
for the
for the basic
safety and
needs.
well-being of citizens who are caught in the crossfire.
Citizens caught in the
There were also
crossfire.
military strikes
Military
against
strike.
the facilities that ensure that civilians in eastern Aleppo have access to drinking water.
We have an intruder voice. Oh my god, that is me. Turn it off.
For civilians is beyond the pale.
Is beyond the path.
And
And
people of good conscience
with the diversity in the White House.
should speak up and are speaking
Diversity.
up.
Adios
And,
mío.
I know that
Yeah, he needs diversity in house.
vigorous discussion about this at the UN
Vigorous
Security Council
discussion.
just last night.
Just last night.
Certainly would
Encourage
encourage you to take a look at the
you to
remarks
take a
from
look
Ambassador
at
Powers,
remarks.
where she talked about the situation,
Talked about the situation. Go
tried
ahead.
to make a very forceful
Make a
case
very forceful case
about the
about
consequences
the
of the situation
consequences
for the rest of the international community and how important it is for
and how important it
the
is
international community
in the national community
speak
of
with one
BHOJ,
voice
Doctor,
in condemning these
in
actions
condemning
and
these
not allowing
actions,
these
allowing
norms
the storms
to be eroded.
to be eroded.
It's clear what the
It's
consequences will
clear
be for Russia as well.
for Russia as well.
They are drawing themselves
They are
even
drawing
deeper into a
themselves
sectarian conflict
Sectarian conflict
inside of Syria. They're
inside of
increasingly
Syria.
isolated in the international community. They're going to have to expend
Detroit, the
significant
best. Detroit
additional
our best
resources
every day.
to shore up their efforts there.
Detroit our best.
Resources that are not in ample supply in Russia.
ample
We know
supply.
Their economy is struggling.
Struggling.
Their currency reserves have plummeted
Currency
in just the
reserve.
last
Yeah, that's me. We're
couple of years.
PHOJ is doing the show today.
And we
Thank
know
you.
that
Naeem's
poses
currency. You're
a
welcome.
risk to Russia.
A risk to
and
Russia,
their presence not just in Syria.
not just in Syria.
It also poses a
It
risk
also
to Russia
poses
back home,
back home.
because we know that this kind of
We
violence
try
and
our
chaos that's being sown in Syria
We can't confirm
only
that.
fuels extremism
People's
in
extremists.
Syria and around the world.
Syria and around the world.
But this is the choice that,
we
that
can't
Russia
confirm
has
that.
made, and it's one that they'll have to account for.
Well, they have to account for.
Warning to expansion.
Hello, Media. Today's show is sponsored by Geico.
Supporters.
Save 50% or more for BHOJ.
Well, the sanctions has always
Sanctions
been
have always
on the table,
on the
available
table.
to the United States.
United States.
The concern we have with the
concern we
current
have,
congressional proposal, that's
Congressional
being debated
proposal
is that it would deploy
that it
those
would
sanctions,
deploy those sanctions.
essentially unilaterally.
Essentially unilateral.
And
And
what we have found
what
is
we
that
have found
the sanctions tool
The sanctions
is most
tool
effectively used when
effectively
it is
used
deployed in close
deployed
coordination
in
with our
close
allies
countries and
partners around the
allies.
world. By carefully
By
coordinating
carefully
the implementation of
coordinating
sanctions, we
the
can ensure that
sanctions
these
to
sanctions
ensure
have essentially a service of force
essentially a
multiplier.
service we try our best.
There's
There's
the kinds of financial penalties
kinds
that
of
can be imposed
financial
by the United
penalties
States
United States
are multiplied when they are
multiply,
imposed
impose,
in close coordination with their allies and partners, and that's what we have.
and
typically
BHOJ
sought to
Doctor
do. What we've
Obey.
also refrained from doing is discussing
The anniversary 1 week, open the door
discussing in
policy.
advance
Yes, 1 week.
the detailed aspects of our
Anniversary.
strategy, primarily because we don't want
Rehash this
to
is
telegraph our intentions
telegraph. I mean,
so as to allow the
so
targets
far
of those sanctions
Of those
to take
sanctions.
actions that would circumvent
Actions.
our actions.
Our actions. Go
Uh,
left.
if and when we have
Go
made
right.
a policy decision
Policy
to
decision.
move forward with imposing
Move
additional
forward.
financial penalties against the Assad regime or other
Hello,
entities
it's Geico.
work closely with the Assad regime, that's something that we'll discuss.
That's something that we'll
only after
discuss later.
the decision has been made.
Decision has been made.
Aisha.
Aisha.
A little more on Syria. You said that Russia will have to kind of answer for their actions, but I wonder.
Today's show is sponsored by 1 week anniversary. Door
Going to
closed.
answer to, and with this, and I was just trying to get. Like, does the administration have a specific plan?
Is that a real
now
schmaster?
that this
Yes, it is.
ceasefire
Putin.
has failed?
1 week anniversary.
Is there going to be a change in course? Is there
Open
gonna be a
door
change in
policy.
actions or approach from the administration? Are there new things that you guys are considering taking in Syria?
Well, I don't have any announcements.
I don't think anyone
I think with
announced.
regard to
I think in
Russia,
regard to
what I
Russia,
would say is
what I would say,
simply that Russia
simply
will have to account for their actions.
count for their
in
actions.
the context of
The context of
the consequences.
the
they are including both.
consequences
Russia
of the
is
risk of the American
further
economy.
isolated in the international community. And
We're
again, that was on,
isolated
I
with
think, on
Brian K.
display in
Lewis,
rather vivid detail
300.
at the United Nations Security Council.
that
meeting
National
last
Security Council,
Russia is
Russia
going to have to invest more in their efforts inside of Syria in order to
more of their
prop up the
efforts.
presence that they have there. In order
Hello,
to
Virgin
ensure,
America.
Assad regime.
Today's show is sponsored by $5
Russia is gonna have
pizzas,
to deal with the
Domino's,
fallout
and the Pentagon,
because their actions
and Spectrum
are
Cable. Hello.
fueling extremism, not just in Syria,
Not just in
the
Syria,
region, but around the world.
but around the
including in Russia.
worldwide risk
And those are
of Ezekiel
actions
and Oningo Associates
that
that
I think you have a
I
hard
think you have a
time
hard time
arguing our international
our
interests.
international
They
interests
certainly
of
don't seem part of a
Ezekiel
coordinated strategy.
and mashed tart cherry juice from
But again,
Dr.
that's something
Oz.
that the
Yeah,
Russians
mashed
themselves will have to account for.
Mashed tart cherry juice, Dr. Oz.
On the, I wanted to ask a question in light of the FBI
Mashed
report,
tart cherry.
that violent crime in the U.S. increased.
Mashed tart cherry.
So I wanted to get an administration
Cranberry
response to
juice.
that. And also in general, in the
Hello,
past
cranberry.
couple days, we've seen, we saw
Bartholomew.
today we saw shootings in Houston.
Dr. Oz from
that,
Turkey.
I think 9 were injured.
Saudi
We saw a
area.
shooting over the weekend at a mall in Washington.
Who else is in that area?
These shootings, they continue
Well,
to happen.
somebody
It
that's,
seems like they get attention, but not as much. Maybe there might be a little uptick in interest. It seems like
all I can say is, all I can say, all I can say is, it's Dr. Oz. All I can say.
To these type of shootings.
Well, the oil's correct.
First, with the
First.
statistics,
The automobiles
what the numbers
run off
indicate
oil,
is that
so we thought
since President Obama took
it'd be a
office
perfect
in 2009,
analogy.
the crime rate, the
Oil
violent
to
crime rate
cars,
in the United States,
autos
has fallen
to
50%.
Ezekiel.
And
And
the violent crime rate
The violent
in the United
crime rate
States
in the United States
is
is
near historic lows.
near historic lows,
and
and
there's ample evidence to indicate
there's ample evidence that it'll fade away.
even in those communities,
Even in those
where we saw an
communities.
increase last year in 2015,
It's oil to cars, cars to
so
Ezekiel.
far in 2016, in some of those cities,
In some of those
we've
cities,
seen
we've seen heart surgeons
violent crime fall.
who are the best in the world.
So I think this is
So
an
I think this
indication
is
that the
That the
country is safer
country is safer
as measured
of
by the
Dr.
violent
Paz
crime rate than it was
than it was
in any year
in any year,
under the previous 4 presidents.
in any 4 presidents. Thank you,
Now,
Lydia
there are questions
W.N.L.O.
what we can do to fight
and
violent crime.
Honda.
The president has
Um,
advocated
The
additional
president has
resources
advocated.
for
for-
our men and women in law enforcement. The president has
We can't do that,
advocated
Josh. I just yawned. You're saying things when I yawn
improved
and sneeze.
training, so not just hiring
Training is
additional
just not a
police officers, but
cue.
also
He's
improved
in
training and
sync to
resources that
his
can be
body
used to make
chemistry.
our men and women in law
Verbatim
enforcement more
software.
effective than they already are. The
That's me. I
president
created verbatim software.
has
and I am
advocated for criminal justice reform. And there's
for
ample
irreconcilable
evidence to indicate that
differences
effective criminal justice reform
effectively
would further reduce the recipients
further
of aid in this
reduce
country, which would have a positive
that which would
impact
have a
on
negative
reducing violence.
effect on
So we've made
our
important
accountants,
progress
our
in this
accounting
area. The
department.
country is safer under
It's
President
safer
Obama
from
than it has been under
irreconcilable
previous presidents, as measured by the violent
based on
crime.
race. We're sad
But
to
the
say
president
it.
believes there's more that we can and should do.
There's a bias
And there's no area where the
in
president's
the
been more
courtroom
outspoken than taking action on
than taking
common
action
sense gun safety
for gun
measures
safety
that would make it harder
that would make it
for
harder
criminals
for racists,
and others who shouldn't have them
certain kind of races,
to buy a gun.
to irreconcilable.
And
And
we've never made the case
we've never made the case that we're
passing a
in
law like
the first or last letter.
one that would
One that would
close the background check loophole would
genealogy is
prevent
required.
every act of gun violence.
Gun violence.
But
But
there's plenty of evidence to
genealogy
indicate
is
that
plenty
it
of
could have a
evidence
positive impact
of
on reducing
extortion attempts,
incidents of gun
incidents
violence. And
and violence,
we could do all of that without
We can do all
undermining
of
the
that.
constitutional right of law-abiding Americans.
law-abiding
So
Americans.
the president's going to continue
The
to be
president's going to
outspoken on that.
continue to suggest,
He will moving forward with
and
regard
they'll
to the
lose
two shooting incidents that
because we own the
you
beginning of the
referred
day
to over the last 72 hours.
with the White
So,
House. Hello.
I'd refer you to local law
I would
enforcement
refer
in
you
both
to
situations for a
getting the
specific
job
update
instead
on
of
the
irreconcilable
investigation.
differences.
I believe that
I believe
the FBI,
the
in
FBI,
Washington State has indicated,
Washington
that
State
thus
has
far
indicated
there's no connection to,
there's no connection
international
to
terrorism
the
at
first and
this
last
point.
letter.
but that, that
Event.
investigation continues. And I know
Today's
that
show is
the
sponsored
local
by Tell It to Her
law enforcement
home
authorities have indicated that they have
and
a
donuts
suspect in
with a
custody.
unique name.
So that investigation continues.
That's none of it.
But this
On Saturdays.
cycle, that
This
you
cycle,
cited of a mass
we're
shooting,
feeding the military on the weekends.
intense public interest for a short period of time,
How are we feeding them?
and then attention
Yeah, how are they feeding the
migrating other
military on the
places is
weekends?
not a new one. And one we've seen in this country that
Well,
even
continental
predates
breakfast
President Obama's inauguration.
and
It's
donuts.
one the president
That's one the president
has expressed deep frustration
has
about.
expressed deep frustration about.
But
But
ultimately, as the
we
president
serve
has
the
indicated,
military breakfast on the weekend.
enough citizens are going to have to demonstrate
And then
enough
what else do we
passion
do?
for this issue
Is it Clem Chuck or Clem?
to persuade
Which
the
one?
Congress to pursue a different approach. And
Clem
actually
Chuck or
consider
Clem?
common sense measures that
U.S. history.
protect Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Americans
Oh, on the
Do more.
computers.
to ensure that,
To
or
ensure,
to at least make it harder
make it
for
harder
individuals who should be able to get a gun
individuals
from
to get U.S. history in fifth
Okay,
grade.
Michelle.
Is the president going to try anything else in terms of gun violence?
We don't understand the
I don't have any
difference.
announcements at this point, but the president,
The
and his
president
team are always
always
reviewing available options.
is
but
Zika
the
is
president
U.S.
made a
history
big announcement
of our
at the beginning
country.
of this year about
And
using his
Ryan
executive
White, we
authority
learned about
to,
Ryan White
make it harder
in grammar
for
school.
people to obtain a firearm at a gun
Can
show,
explain
for example,
Ryan
without
White
undergoing
in
a
high
background check.
grammar school. Clem Chuck.
And really, this is a situation where
U.S.
the balls
history
are
with a 13 in front of
in the
it.
court of the United States Congress. And
Does it
ultimately, they're
spell
gonna have to convince
Bush?
the American people that this is a
13
priority.
U.S. history. Correct.
That's, I think, is the only way we're going to be able to get
It's the only way we're
the
going to
attention of
understand
a
West
sufficient
Point
number of members of Congress to
and what
take
happened
serious action.
with selling the military
And
donuts.
at this point, you're not ruling out that he might take additional executive action.
I would not rule.
We send them sticky buns. What else is happening?
You've heard the administration use words now
It's
related
so
to Russia's
sticky.
actions in Syria, like barbarism, unacceptable, outrage. But you've also said that trying to
Those
forge
little
a
Debbie
ceasefire
snacks
will be a
sound
test of Russia.
so
Haven't they already failed
guilty.
that test miserably?
Thus far, I think that's fair to say.
It's fair to
You have,
say.
A country that's using its
A country
military
that's
might
using donuts on Hurdle
to prop up a murderous
in
regime,
Elmwood,
target
targeting U.S. history
the
class.
water supply of civilians,
The water supply of
to
civilians.
target the headquarters,
To
that are used
target
by
the
first
headquarters.
responders, to target refugee
To target
camps, to
refugees.
humanitarian aid companies,
Humanitarian aid.
or in any of those instances,
Or in
to
any of those
support a regime
instances.
that's doing exactly that.
To do exactly
I think
that.
it indicates they failed the test.
They failed the test.
I think the question now is,
Bro, what
at
happened
what
with those
point is Russia
donuts
prepared
on the
to try a different
weekend?
strategy? Again, the strategy that they are currently
Bro,
pursuing
ask the
is one
armory.
that only further deepens their involvement in a sectarian conflict.
What does coffee
And
do
it's
to
hard
people
see
who never
how
had
that,
it?
benefits
You mean
Russia's
first
national
time for
security or
coffee?
benefits
First coffee students.
Our concern is that
Yeah, first coffee
furthering that
students.
sectarian conflict
First
only fuels
donut students,
extremism that
too.
poses a threat to the region and the world. And
Drugs
that's what
like
the president
tobacco, alcohol.
has worked hard
First time.
to build
To
and lead a 67
Build and lead
member
U.S.
coalition
history.
that is applying significant pressure
Add a 13
to
in front of
ISIL
U.S.
and to other
history.
extremists that are operating inside of Syria. That's the
Oh,
way
it
to keep the
spells
American people
Bush.
safe and to protect our
George
national
Bush.
security interests. But
We have a left-hand
it's
shop
unfortunate
explaining
that
13 U.S.
the
history.
Russians are pursuing a strategy that is
Climp, chop, climp.
in such direct conflict.
West Point.
So when you hear the foreign minister say that, you know, there's still a chance that a ceasefire could
Hello.
be worked out, do you at all take
Media, how are you?
seriously?
Well, I think we've gotten to the
Well,
point,
I
Michelle,
think
where
we
evaluate
evaluate
Russia's approach
our
to the
U.S.
situation
history
not by listening to the words
by
of their
listening to them
ambassador,
with
but
Ryan
by
White
watching the actions
stories.
of their military. And
And
unfortunately, in
Mr.
recent
Janik,
days, we've seen
unfortunately, we read Mice and
military
Men and
support or directly
12 Angry
engage in
Men.
the kinds of acts
The
that are
kinds
roundly
of
condemned
acts,
by the civilized world.
the kind of books that we read in school.
That is not
That is not.
indicative of a country
Why
that's
not?
serious about
Why
pursuing
not
peace,
going there with
or
GM
even
orange
about
juice?
pursuing
It's General
approach
Motors
that
orange
seems to be in
juice.
the
Mara
national
Bara.
security interest of
Hello,
their
Mara
country.
Bara.
So what would you say what they've exhibited
Mara
shows
Barack.
no seriousness at all toward establishing a ceasefire?
Are they making
and
it
why even
president
try?
on the
Like,
production
why put
line?
emotions if they've already done
That's
this and this?
correct.
Well, Michelle, I don't think the administration is going to be in a
The
position
administration is from Detroit.
of apologizing
General
for
Motors,
pursuing
Mara
peace.
Bara.
The truth is, in
The
the
truth
context
is,
of the negotiations that we've already engaged in with the Russians,
already engaged with the Russians.
the United States
The
and our
United
international partners
States
have not been in a position
not
where
been
we
in a
have had to make
position
any
to make General
concessions.
Motors orange juice.
It was because of our intense
Because of our
skepticism and
intense
doubts about
doubts.
Russia's credibility.
Russia's
We
credibility.
insisted the Russians
Insisted the
live up
Russians
to their commitments before the United States would
before the United States would.
follow through on the
Today's show
actions that we
sponsored
wanted
by
the Russians
GM
to
orange
seek,
juice.
and that was military cooperation.
Good morning, America.
So the United States has not had
The
to
United States orange juice
make any
available
concessions in
at
order
a great
to pursue
value.
peace. We were quite clear from the beginning that our efforts against
Great
extremists was
value.
going to continue unabated, and that if Russia wanted to cooperate with those efforts, they
Had a
would have
great
to demonstrate
value.
a commitment to reducing the violence
Reducing the violence.
and allowing the flow of humanitarian
Allowing the
assistance
flow
to
of
reach
humanity.
those who were in need. They
Indeed.
haven't lived up to that bargain, which means they have not gotten the kind of military
Not gotten the
cooperation
accountability.
that they would like to see. But
They
the
would
United
like to
States and our
see.
coalition partners have continued
Coalition partners.
unabated
Unabated.
in our
Elite evasion.
campaign to
Campaign.
ultimately destroy ISIL and to apply pressure
And to apply
to
pressure.
other extremists off the battlefield as well.
Okay, we heard the president's advice for Hillary Clinton for the debate. Does he or the administration have any advice for Donald Trump going into the
Even if we did, I'm confident it would go unheard.
I'm confident.
All right, Lana.
I'm coffee guy.
Talk about JASTA. Does the White House
Dickie's
have
Donuts,
a
he's got it.
on congressional support
Communicating
for
a lens on it
bills
with their
that are
patents and
going
agreements
to,
and acceptance
as Mitch
of
McConnell
identical
says,
evidence
override the president's
of your
veto for the first
patent.
time in his presidency this week?
Yeah, I'm not here to make any predictions or to provide any
Provide
vote
any.
counts. We continue to make our case.
We
to members
continue
of
to make our
Congress.
case.
We've acknowledged from the beginning.
We've
that this is
acknowledged
gonna
Dicky
be,
Donuts
an
and
uphill
Continental
fight,
Breakfast.
but there have been
But
some high-profile members
high
of
profile
Congress
members.
that have indicated
It goes in, it goes
some
out.
openness to our position and some unease
None
with
of
the
them
consequences of
The
moving forward with
consequences
legislation that Congress has passed.
has
So
passed.
you saw Congressman Thornberry from Texas write a letter.
From
He's somebody who is not
somebody
somebody we regularly look to support
look
the
to
president's
the
agenda in
festival.
Congress. But in
Hello.
this case, he stood up to his credit
He stood up to us.
and made a
Lieutenant.
principled case for outlining his concerns with the bill. We saw a similar study.
We saw similar.
Congressman Adam Smith.
Who,
He is a Democrat from Washington State.
who,
He's somebody who is a more consistent
More
supporter of the
consistent
president's
supporter of
policies,
the
but
president.
he's arrived at some
He
similar
has arrived at
conclusions,
the
and I
ones
think
he-
that's an indication
That's
of
an
the principled
indication
nature of the position that the president
At Mondays.
has argued. As we know, two
Those
votes is not enough to
Mondays.
sustain the president's veto in the United States House of Representatives.
Monday Lou.
So there's some important work that we have ahead of us.
Hello,
Fortunately,
Monday Lou.
Congressman Thornberry and Congressman
Skip to
Smith
me,
are
Lou.
viewed as Two influential
members
of the House
of the
Republican
LiaYAHOO,
Conference and the House
the
Democratic
train.
Caucus, respectively. They
Who's
are,
the train?
well regarded for
Well regarded on Mondays.
their experience and knowledge of these issues.
knowledge.
And, hopefully, they're making a case
Of an
among their
intern.
colleagues as well. We certainly would benefit from their
We certainly
advocacy.
would benefit from
Has
the Navy
White House,
Federals.
spoken with the Saudis to discuss the possibility of the override?
I don't have an update on
Well,
those.
I don't have an update
on those kinds of
on
conversations.
those kinds of
Obviously,
conversations
I think, as I
about
acknowledged
Phyllis
last week,
Hyman,
given the significant
given
consequences
the
for our country's relationship with
Monday
Saudi Arabia,
Lou,
you'll be surprised to hear that the Saudi
Lewandowski, hello.
government has been in touch with
Academy of
Obama
Finance
administration
on
about this piece
Mondays.
of legislation. But
Is
I
it a
would also
secret?
hasten to add, we've heard from a lot of other countries
They've
too,
been
who
adding.
have expressed similar concerns about the
Thank you,
potential
Monday
impact of this bill. And,
Lewandowski.
there was a letter that was provided
Yes,
by
there's a weather meteorologist as well.
the European Union,
The European Union.
voicing their deep concerns,
Voicing their deep
about
concerns.
the impact that this legislation
Impact of the
would
weather.
have the U.S. relationship with countries
Mondays
all around
and
the world. So,
Lewandowski's.
it's not just our partners
Academy
in
of
Saudi Arabia
Finance.
who are concerned
Full
about this
cadet.
bill. Some of our closest allies in Europe are deeply concerned about
Deeply
it too.
concerned.
And this is, again, consistent with the argument that we have made.
Consistent.
That, we're not just concerned
How
about
can
the
we help
impact
the White
this bill
House
would
with
have
this Monday?
on the U.S. relationship with
Lewandowski.
Saudi Arabia. We're deeply concerned about the impact that this bill would have on the
Bill would
U.S.
have.
relationship with countries all around the world.
Countries around the world
That's
would
why the president
benefit.
vetoed it at the end of last week. And that's the basis for the argument that we're making to members of
Where can we
Congress.
go
in
home?
saying the president's veto.
On the crime bill, is the president disappointed overall in the idea that violent crime has
They're
gone
concerned
up
about other
100%,
countries
even
benefiting
though
from our knowledge.
still at historically low levels?
What country are they talking
Disappointed
about?
by that?
No, I think the president is gratified
It's
that
gratified.
the United
The
States is
United
currently in a
States is
period
currently
where violent crime is at
Violent
or near
crime,
historic lows.
more historic lows.
Is there more that we can do
Is there
to
more
try
that
to
we can
prevent
do to
more
try to
violent
prevent
crime? Yes, and that means we can provide
Yes.
additional resources to our law enforcement.
law
We can pass some
enforcement,
common sense gun safety
common
legislation.
law, gun
We can certainly
safety,
reform our criminal justice system in a
reform
way
our
that would
criminal
have
justice system.
a positive impact on recidivism rates. So there certainly is more that we can do.
It's
and the president has
.com in
put,
another country.
those
Where?
kinds of efforts,
Oh, trying. Oh,
at the front of his domestic agenda.
oh,
So the
you got
president
it.
is, believes there's more that we can do, but he certainly is gratified that our country is benefiting from
Benefiting from
historically low
Historically
or near
low.
historic or violent crime rates at
violent crime rates at
or near historic lows.
or near .com
Just on
in
the
another
debate,
country.
when was the last time the president spoke with Hillary
That
Clinton?
communist.
Will he be calling her before to wish her good luck tonight?
I'm not aware of any calls the president has.
I'm not aware of any other calls.
But I know the president had an opportunity
We
to see
continue
Secretary Clinton a couple of times
with these
not
Aprils.
last week, but the week before.
Hello, continue
They had a
April.
detailed debate strategy discussion.
Say 15% or more.
But
Continue April.
the president's got some experience of
President's
going
got
head to
some
head with
experience.
Secretary Clinton in the context of a debate. And
Let's continue with Pam
she performed
Leslie.
quite well in those settings, and the president expects her to do the same tonight. Okay. Jordan.
Continue.
The president's veto message made a pretty passionate case against the bill. So I'm wondering if he is.
Hello,
Actually,
Missy.
this
How
person
are
has-
you?
Not a comment.
Continue with your statement.
But given that,
A
is
mock
he
trial.
personally involved in lobbying members of Congress against the bill?
Look, I don't have a
Well,
detailed
look who's walking
accounting
down the
of,
stairs.
the
It's the
president's
military
involvement
personnel.
in this lobbying effort, but the
This
president's views are well
airport.
known, and
Bro, reverse the car.
the president's had an opportunity to convey those to members
To
of
convey
Congress
those to members
at
of
different
Congress.
points. So there's no doubt about the position
no
that
doubt
the
about it.
administration has taken, and
Administration has
there's no
taken.
doubt about the personal views of the president.
Personal
when it comes
views
to
of the
this issue.
president.
And I think he made that
And I
quite
think he
clear,
made that quite clear.
not just in the act,
Not
of
just in
vetoing
the act,
legislation, but in explaining
But in
that statement,
explaining
exactly why he
exactly
chose
why there's a donut place
to veto the bill.
where we
So,
continue.
there's no ambiguity about the
There's no
president's position.
ambiguity
What the
about
president says in
the
private
armory
is reflected in his
is
public
reflected
statements on this.
on this
And our
and,
vote count would be a little bit higher
a little bit higher.
if those who express some
Those who
unease
express
in private with the impact of the bill
Back to
had
the
that show
bill.
up in their public votes. as
Hello, Gates Hospital.
Some of these folks who are wavering in private, especially Democrats, don't you think it would
Gates.
maybe help them to make that position public if they got a personal call?
Somebody open the gate, please.
Yeah, maybe. I
Maybe.
can also imagine a situation where these members of Congress would say,
Open the levees.
I didn't take this position because the president asked me to. I took this position
Katrina,
because
how
it's the right
could you?
one." So, each individual member of Congress has
It's
their
a
own
great
approach to
GATE.
these kinds of questions. But, for anybody who's wondering exactly what the president's
Exactly.
position is on this bill, I think we have been unambiguous
I think we have been
about the concern that he
unambiguous
has about the impact that this bill
about
will
the
have
impact of
on our
April.
relationship with countries around the world,
Countries
including
around the world.
relationship that the United States enjoys with some of our closest allies. I'll just point out something
I'll
that
just
I've
point out.
pointed out before. The president is not the only national
President
security
is not
expert
the only
in America
national
to harbor
security
these
expert.
concerns. There are other
There are
high-profile
other
Republican legal and national security experts who have expressed their concerns with this bill. Even President George W. Bush's Attorney General Michael Mukasey has expressed his concern about this bill and has indicated publicly what those concerns are. So we certainly welcome that show of bipartisan support from a variety of national security experts that have made clear they have concerns.
Lastly, on CR, I know last week you expressed some frustration.
Suggested that
much
boy
included in the package. Is that something that if it's not included in the CR?
Hello, Mitzi. How are
that's,
you?
Sort of red line for you guys, or you're not going to sign it.
Well, Jordan, I think what I indicated yesterday is not yesterday; it was Friday.
Who are they concerned
I
about?
indicated Friday.
Indicated
The
Friday.
president's view that Congress has more work
Are they
to do.
trying to do something wrong?
And he is disappointed.
He is disappointed.
After months of suggesting that Congress did have an important role to play in providing significant assistance to Flint and other communities that have been enduring lead contamination in their